Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and today I'm attempting a restorative dye bath for an older doll. I'll be using a mix of royal purple and super pink Rit DyeMore, and the goal is deyellowing this very badly aged Magic Time doll body. You can see the body is substantially more yellow than the doll's head, very much a butter yellow. This kind of yellowing is common in old dolls, and we're going to see what we can do about it. So here I've got my water coming to a boil in a stainless steel pan with a bit of dish soap added as the instructions say. I keep dedicated cookware for dyeing dolls because resin is toxic and shouldn't be eaten, and the dye isn't very good for you either. Deyellowing dolls isn't a new practice. There are a lot of old discussions about it on doll forums like Den of Angels, and even some recipes for the dye mixes that give good results. But everything I found turned out to be from before Rit Dye developed the DyeMore line, so there was no information on what ratios to use. So I start small with just half a teaspoon of each of the two colors I picked in 6 quarts of water. This doesn't feel like enough, but I don't want to overdo it, so I'll do a test piece first. Yellowing in dolls has 2 primary causes, so I picked these 2 dyes to counteract them. 1, resin yellows as it oxidizes. Color theory indicates the purple dye should counteract the age-related yellowing. 2, resin yellows as the pigments fade. Yellow is one of the most light-fast pigments, while red is one of the least, so the pink should restore a mild amount of red pigment. I have all my doll parts strung up on cotton string, and I keep the water temperature above boiling as I dip the parts in. I start with a piece that's small and smooth and will be easy to remove dye from if this goes wrong. I dipped a part for just a few seconds because that was what everyone on the forum said it needed, and it did pretty much nothing. So I dipped it for about 30 seconds and still next to no change. So from this, my takeaway is that I don't have enough dye in the mix. I double the amount in the mix by adding another half teaspoon of either color, then try again. This starts to give me some color, but it takes longer than I expected. To the side, I have a timer running to let me know how long I kept the piece in the dye bath. I wish I could give you exact times, but honestly, it varies by the doll. Some resins take dye better than others, and smaller parts take dye faster than bigger parts. So it's best to use a test piece and a timer to find the color you want, and then base your dye time off that for your particular doll. It doesn't show super well on camera, but the dyed piece is much peachier than the undyed piece, and that means it's time to go ahead and dye everything else. I rinse all my pieces in cool water before putting them on a towel to dry, and as I go, I check the color of the pieces against each other to make sure I'm getting them consistent. Here you can see an undyed leg on the left and a dyed leg on the right. The lighting is better here so you can see the difference. This is much closer to the color the doll originally was, and the dye bath is so light that it takes super smoothly. I'm lucky in that regard. Not all my dye projects have gone so well. I cleaned this thoroughly before dyeing it, but that's not always a guarantee. Here you can see the parts in natural daylight. The left arm is undyed, and the right arm has been in the restorative dye bath. I'm already loving these results. I adjust the time each piece is in the bath based on how big it is and how fast it takes the dye, but it really only means adjusting by a few seconds per piece. Here you can see the head against the undyed torso piece, and against one of the dyed legs. Isn't that a much better match? Since this color is so pale and subtle, it's the easiest dye job I've ever done, and I can't get over the difference in color. It really does look like new. Putting the torso pieces together made the difference really stark, and it makes me really glad I decided to do this. It's not a permanent fix, as dolls will continue to yellow, and this red pigment will also break down over time. But because it's such a minuscule amount of dye, it's also easy to remove it in the future with rubbing alcohol, or acetone-free nail polish remover, so I can do the restoration again. It took less than an hour to prepare and dye all the pieces. Here's what it looked like before the dye treatment, and here it is after. It's not a 100% perfect match to the doll head I'm using, but it's close enough that I won't need to do any blushing or color matching, and it looks pretty great in photos. All in all, definitely worthwhile, especially for how little time it took. That's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.